Howdy, howdy, everybody out there in YouTube land. Welcome back to my little slice of the grand land of Olean. So today we're going to be getting into silent acts, which is a fascinating subject. It's something I've done in my own process of putting together routines where I will let the silence reign supreme. Maybe put some music over top of it for emotional effect. Now, before we get into the read today, I did want to show you I got some mail. So, Lost in the Shuffle. I'm going to be giving that a watch when I get a chance. I'm just going to binge it all the way through. And then we might talk about it a little bit just to, get you guys some tension building going on. Now, this says it's from Murphy Magic Supply. I'm guessing, yeah, okay. So, I ordered stuff from Trick Supply because Doug Kahn's out there. So I figured I would order from Trick Supply, and then it came from Murphy's Magic. So I'm not sure what I did wrong. Some Prophet Key, and of course this. Look at that. Calico, Rick Holcomb. He's my coin guy. Since Copeland's closed, I needed a new one. But since this came from Murphy's Magic, and not Trick Supply, who knows? Maybe I read something wrong. I hit myself in the face. So we're going to be, and hopefully it's pocket sized. I like to carry that with me. Prophet Key is something that I'm going to have on me once I learn it every day. And then there is Lost in the Shuffle. We're going to have to get the DVD player out and watch some Lost in the Shuffle. But all that aside, let's jump into it. Silent Acts. A little bit of a shorter chapter today, which is great for a beautiful... What's today? The days all blur together for me. I don't even remember what day it is. Chapter 17, Silent Acts. I'm probably off with the chapter counts because I don't remember things. Silent with not air quotes. There's actually quotes in here. Silent Acts. My comfort zone has always been helping performers who talk during their acts. Nonetheless, after writing the original book, I've watched lots of magic. Again, only professionals, and a few consistent director's notes for non-talking acts have surfaced. First, some benchmarks. The iconic non-speaking magic stars of my youth were Cardini and Channing Pollock. They were true international stars. Today, their acts feel somewhat dated, but in their time, they represented the peak of non-speaking magic. And as mentioned earlier, Jeff Sheridan was my best friend for a number of years in my late teens and early 20s. Jeff, who always considered himself an artista as much as a magician, performed a truly silent act. No music, no sounds other than the ambient street noise. He frequently performed in New York City's Central Park, or noise from wherever he happened to be. And his sleight of hand technique was flawless. Although their acts were quite different, in each we see economy of movement. Every action, no matter how seemingly small, had a reason, a motivation. Nothing was superfluous. They set the bar high. Here, then, are a few common problems in acts where the performer doesn't speak. Unnecessary movements. It all comes down to this. Move with purpose. Any unnecessary movements hurt your overall impact. As implied above, all the best silent acts make not a single unneeded move or action. Yet how often we see props lifted for no reason. A small table, chair, or prop moved from here to a few inches from here. Lapels or ties straightened repetitively. A step taken in this direction and then back again with no purpose. Just as every word spoken should be targeted to a specific reaction, economy of words, so too must every action. This is especially true for wordless acts. Being that all attention is on you as you move about the stage, you must strive for economy of movement. Even your gaze must be targeted and not random. The solution to this problem is simple: more and better practice combined with careful studying of videos of yourself. So, the point being made here is that if you're taking out dialogue, which is so important to everything that we do, because I can direct you with my voice, but if I'm not directing you with my voice, for those of you who read lips, maybe if you can see my lips, uh, point being is that now my movements are more important because that's how I convey the story. And so if you move something or move in a way that doesn't help the story, people will get confused because that's all they have to go on. Dancing or prancing. Do you make any movements that could be considered dance moves? If you are not a trained dancer, the yawning again, or haven't taken serious dance and or movement lesson, there's a good chance you will look awkward. Now, I do want to make a brief note about my yawning. I don't know why I do it, because I know I've been doing some voice lessons, and I know that the voice trigger, like if you open your mouth, you can trigger the yawn reflex. Sometimes when I'm practice singing, I'm not really practicing. Well, I practice, but I'm not very good at it, in my own opinion. And I still practice because I enjoy singing songs. I do notice that sometimes I trigger the yawn reflex when I don't mean to, because I'm just singing normally. So when I'm talking, sometimes the yawn reflex, like right now, I can feel it triggering, but I don't understand why. So I don't know if there's a diagnosis there. I don't know what's going on with that. So if any of you guys know how I can stop the yawn reflex, if there's any techniques I can use, because it happens randomly when I'm doing this type of speaking engagement, unless it's like a fight or flight response. I don't know. Men, sorry to say, are particularly vulnerable to inaptitude when moving body parts. There are two solutions: either study with a qualified choreographer or dance teacher, and don't do your dance moves in public until given the green light by your teacher, or don't try to dance. Instead, move with purpose and as much grace as you can muster. What are you saying? Many silent acts assume that we in the audience are closely following the flow and the logic of the action. But we're not. The balls, the silks, the coins go here, then there. Stuff happens, and you look at us with a quizzical look that implies what? It's not always as obvious as some performers think it is. So when you pause with a "can you believe that just happened?" look on your face, and you may in fact be communicating with a smaller portion of the audience than you realize. Generally, it's better to eliminate those attempts to mime specific communication with the audience. Let the magic do the talking. Plus, many of those glances, smiles, look here movements have become magic cliches, and you know what I think about cliches. Music blunders. We've already had a whole chapter on music, but here I want to touch on specifics about music in non-speaking acts. A common calf, and one that needs immediate fixing, is a gap between selections. Nothing screams amateurish louder than having one piece fade out and a few awkward seconds elapse before the next piece starts. Even if the gap is 1 second, it's too long. If you perform in pantomime to music, there should be a seamless flow of music. One piece flows into another with no gap, no noticeable change of pace or volume. Do, in other words, what all DJs do, unless, of course, there is a clear artistic reason for a moment of quiet. Similarly, no piece of music should randomly end during a routine. Every set piece must begin and end with its own music. Either fit the music to the routine or fit the routine to the music. Or, if that's not possible, the music must be timed to the beginning and end of each subsection within the routine. When and if there is a change of music, we in the audience must know it is intentional. In other words, a pause or sudden change in the music can be effective, but only if the audience perceives that the pause was put there for a reason. The reason might be to signal a meaningful change in the direction of the routine or as an attention gathering device. Whatever it is, we must feel the break has a reason and is not merely sloppy. Using an example of like the sound of silence, which is a big deal, big big deal music piece, that there's moments of silence where there's no music, no instrumentation, and then you have an acapella style kick in, and it fills the whole of the silence in such a way that's, you can say it's deafening because of how deep it sounds. Cliche choices. There are untold numbers of music selections to choose from. Why then do as many magicians fall back on music cliches? Here's an easy rule for you. If you have ever seen any other act use a particular piece of music, don't use that music! Exclamation point. First one of the chapter. Find something else that sets you apart from other guys. It's really not hard. And finding new music selections for your act can be immensely enjoyable. After all, you're listening to music! Exclamation point. Applause cues. Don't signal for approval every time you do anything magical. It quickly becomes tiresome. We see this in non-talking acts and almost nowhere else in show business. The nod, the stop moment accompanied by the smile, the outstretched hands, the other words, the implied ta-da! Exclamation point. Literally, it is as if a cups and balls performer signaled for applause with every appearance or vanish of a ball. Save your applause cues for truly stand-out moments of the routine. Desperately seeking Spina. Finally, I can offer no better advice for non-speaking performers than this. Seek out Joanne Spina's Magic Magazine columns, in both text and audio. Joni, who was a renowned magic choreographer and director, took a deep dive into the techniques she developed over many years of working with some of the biggest names in magic, including several years as David Copperfield's choreographer and co-director. She was a woman of vision, a true artist. Her death at age 61 was a loss to magic in ways that will never be known. Here's how to find her gems of wisdom. GenieOnline.com has a free, fully searchable index of all issues of magic. That index will tell you where any particular article is, and you can easily search by author. However, that won't get you to the actual article. For that, from Genie itself, you can subscribe to Genie, the Conjurer's magazine, and along with your digital back catalog of Genie, you'll also get digital access to all 301 issues of Magic Magazine as long as you're a subscriber. Do it. Joni left us too soon, but thankfully her knowledge and insights live on. I don't agree with everything she said, but overall she was extraordinary, and now Genie is providing you with easy access to her brilliance. Chapter 18, Dealing with Spectators. That will be tomorrow. Now, before we leave you with that, here's what I'd like to do today. Potentially do a little bit of a silent act. Now, I'm a big fan of sponge balls, right? So if we take this sponge ball from here, and we give it a toss, it reappears in the hand. Beautiful. Adversely, we can take that sponge and put it into the pocket, but it'll just reappear into the hand. Beautiful, right? Okay. Now, what that was is that was just a quick back and forth idea with sponges. Now we're going to do it silent. Might do a little bit different because we're riffing, right? Here's what I implore you. Learn moves and techniques so that you can practice by just stringing stuff together. So here now what we're going to do is we're going to do it silent. So you get the idea. And what I love about sponge balls is that you can do the follow the bouncing ball routine with everything in finger palm. Now, we wouldn't consider that a full-fledged routine. What we would consider that is playing around with the idea of sponge balls and just having fun with it without patter. Because, again, sometimes when we talk, we have a tendency to do this. I place the sponge ball in the hand, and now it jumps over to this hand. Cha. Meant to do that. Disappeared and reappeared on the floor. So basic idea is that you have this tendency to narrate exactly what you're doing. I place the sponge ball in the pocket. Notice the subtlety. My eyes are going to my pocket as the ball jumps back to my hand. So keep in mind the subtleties, focus on the subtleties, because those subtleties are going to mean so much more when there's no sound to accompany or the misdirection. Because if I were to say, what's your favorite color? While staring intently into your eyes. Like, for instance, this is a good one. This would be a nice opener. Take a look at the rainbow on my shirt here. Which one is your favorite color? As I'm looking at them. Which one is your favorite color? Oh, you like red? Me too. Or if they say something different, you just say, I've always been pretty partial to the red. So that's a good opener, a good way to go. And I do advocate for that when you're, especially with sponge balls, billiard balls, anything, especially like with coins, start with nothing. So start already prepared. Make something appear out of nowhere. And then continue on with the routine, building up. And then at the end, you're going to want nothing to be there. You want it to disappear at the end. So just remember that. Beginning, middle, end. The beginning, something appears. In the middle, it does something mystical and amazing. And at the end, it's gone. It disappears. It's a good narrative. That's all I got for you today. Thanks for joining us for Silent Acts. Don't forget to be a book sponsor today so that we can send this book out to one lucky person of your choosing. You guys are the book sponsors. All you gotta do is donate to the channel. We'll send it out. I can't wait to get into the Calico because there's a lot of coin routines in there that I know I'm gonna love. That's from Vanishing Ink. I picked that up from. Wait, that's weird. It came from Murphy's Magic. Was released by Vanishing Ink. Came from Murphy's Magic, but was purchased at Trick Supply. Wowzers. Anyway, thank you, everybody. And remember, stay positive, stay active, and stay awesome. And don't forget to subscribe. It really does help out the channel. And, of course, don't forget to check out the video that's just for you. Yep, just for you. Ta-da!